Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Can I please get a like or a hi in the chat box if you can hear me clear and loud and clear? Hi, all right. All right, hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Youth Employment Initiative Coffee Chat to all our dear students, fresh graduates, young working professionals, our employers, our bosses, and dear educators as well from different institutions. I'm Lily Chai, and I'll be your host for today and the rest of the Coffee Chat sessions. And thank you so much for attending today's kickoff for our Coffee Chat series for the Youth Employment Initiative. So on behalf of NAGDA and CABLE, the goal of this Youth Employment Initiative is to increase the number of high-skilled jobs that provide our youths fair pay here in Malaysia. So this Coffee Chat series will actually go on for a month, which means there will be 20 coffee chats lined up for 20 days. And these carefully curated topics will be everything that our young graduates, our young students need to know about choosing the right path, the right career path. So we have, of course, invited CEOs, founders, leaders from the C-suite level. So you can expect COOs, CFOs, and people like that to talk to us for these sessions. So you can get a little bit of inside scoop about different industries, and especially topics like how to choose your first job. Should you start from SMEs or MNCs or startups? And how to negotiate your salary, right? So these are very important topics that we will be covering for the next 20 days. So do check them out. So tune in from Mondays to Thursdays at 4 p.m. and on Fridays, it will be 3 p.m. this month. So today we actually have two very special guests to talk to us about the youth employment and fair pay. So we are here to, of course, discuss this with YB Liew Chin Tong, the Deputy Minister of MITI. You're saying hi. And before we start, right, I actually want to leave everyone with one question. So did you know that Malaysians' median salary is around 2,250 ringgit? Yes, RM 2250 across Malaysia. So do you think Malaysians or you, for those who are working, are paid fairly? Right, this is a question that I'm leaving for you guys. As always, you can leave any questions that you want to ask at YB in the chat box to answer, or your thoughts on anything, you can leave them in the chat box and we'll discuss them later with YB as well. But before that, let's invite Bakhtiar Hasnan, who is the president of NAGDA, to share with us about the Youth Employment Initiative. So Bakhtiar, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you very much, YB Liew, for being with us again. It's an honor for us. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this kickoff for our coffee chat for today. Okay, I am Bakhtiar, President of NAGDA. I'll do just a short intro about our youth employment initiative. Our tagline is invest in our future, and our goals for the initiative is to increase high-skilled jobs with fair pay for our youth in Malaysia. So basically, if I can share with you, NADA is the organizer of this initiative, Youth Employment Initiative. We consist of more than 30 members from education systems all over Malaysia. So CABLE is also the secretariat. For your information, for those out there, this is the first time you heard about CABLE. CABLE is a Tinder-like job matching platform that connects employers and job seekers directly. We have SME Association of Malaysia. Consists of SME businesses in Malaysia with more than 10,000 members all over Malaysia. We also have PCOM. Thank you, PCOM, the National Tech Association of Malaysia, the voice of tech industry, with more than 1,000 members from tech businesses in Malaysia. We also have Cradle, the early stage startup influencer that have supported over more than 1,000 Malaysian tech startups. Thank you to SME, PCOM, and Cradle for for bringing in employers from India association. For your information, we also would like to highlight, we also have youth association that is also joining us in this initiative. We have Higher Education Malaysia Association, or HEYA, develop young professionals with over 8,000 youth from more than 100 education institutions. Thank you, HEYA, for representing the youth community and spreading the word about this initiative. We have partnered with 45 participating education institutions, as you can see in the slides for this initiative. Thank you to our members from participating institutions who have supported this initiative by bringing students and graduates from their respective institutions. So far, we have support from over 100 employers, partners with 4 to 5 educational institutions, and have more than 1,000 youth who have already registered and would like to participate in this initiative. We look forward for more to join us as we go on. So we do invite everyone to join this initiative. Just as being highlighted by Lee just now, just a quick background about the Youth Employment Initiative. This is our situation. Do you know that our developed nation has about 50% high skilled workforce? So Malaysia, we are very much still way behind. So we have about 39.6% of high skilled workforce. So we need at least 45% of high skilled workers to compete with the leading countries, across our neighborhood and across the globe. So to make sure we are not trapped in a low skill, low wages workforce, we must work together as a community to nurture our youth, our future generation to become skilled workers who can bring value to businesses and help our economy to grow. So by doing this, Malaysia can move towards becoming a high skill and high tech nation. So this is our situation. So how do we close this gap? So we'll be having a coffee chat series throughout August, so that moving forward, so that we can get the youth can get the inside scope from the coffee chat with the CEOs. So we also have virtual matching events ongoing from now until September, whereby there will be internship opportunity and also for fresh grads, job opportunities or position. Basically, we want to, in a way, match with the fresh talent with, salary paying 3,000 and above. So again, for youth and young talent out there, please spread the words and get everyone join this for the initiative. Who knows, along the way, you'll get this opportunity to launch your career. Besides that, in September, there will be a networking session. So students and graduates can meet the CEOs and leaders in person. So as we have a very limited spot, we'll be giving this limited spot to those who are active, tune in, into our coffee chat, so that we make sure. So you make sure you need to use the same email address throughout the event when you sign into the Zoom. So here are the coffee chat topics that we like to highlight. So these are the topics, also the date and also the dates. So very exciting topic with CEO and leaders so that you are able to learn how to kickstart your career. Again, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my sincere gratitude to everyone, each and every one of you for joining us this event, pushing the boundaries for high-skilled jobs and for fair pay for youth in Malaysia. Again, as stated in our tagline here, together let us invest in our future. Thank you very much. Pass back to you, Lily.
Thank you so much. That was Bakhtiar Hasnan, the president of NAGDA. Right. Yes, let's invest in our future. So this is why we have our YB with us, YB Liew Chin Tong, who is the Deputy Minister of MITI, to talk to us about this, right? Employment youth employment specifically, and fair pay. So welcome, YB, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Lily. Thank you. You can just call me Chin Tong. You can forget about calling me YB. I'm here just to share my views as a concerned Malaysian.
Right.
I don't want to speak on behalf of any official policies because I think the official policies is an ongoing process of a work in progress that we want to change, and as highlighted by the Prime Minister in his Madani economics speech last week. I think he's probably the first Prime Minister ever to recognize that the medium wage is just too low, and we have to raise the floor, as he called it, and of course we also have to raise the ceiling, because if you have a higher growth, then you can actually also raise the floor as well.
Right. Speaking of which, right, raising the salary, I think it relates to what kind of jobs we have available here in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Just now, Bakhtiar, the president of Canada, he did mention that developed countries have at least 50%, right, almost 50% or more than that, high-skilled workforce. Right. But for Malaysia, we are only less than 30%. I guess we can safely imply that Malaysia is still relatively low skilled and a very labor intensive country as a whole. Right. So can you tell us, right, why is it important to have high-skilled workforce here in Malaysia? Like, what kind of impact will it have to our young graduates, our dear bosses, and our economy as a nation?
Thank you, and I just let me take this opportunity to also congratulate the National Career Development Center Association and Bakhtiar and all of your work. I just found out from your description as well as Bakhtiar's description. This is really a very interesting initiative, and we need more of this. I think we need more conversation between the employers and also potential employees, so that we can find the way forward for the nation. Our nation is stuck. As pointed out by the Prime Minister, we're stuck in a vicious cycle, and we need to get out of the vicious cycle. And to get out of the vicious cycle is for the employers to recognize a few facts. Number one, I think employers have to recognize that the Malaysian labor market and the Singapore labor market is almost a single labor market. That means if Malaysian workers are not happy, they will go to Singapore. Right? So that is a very important premise to begin, because there are so many Malaysians who work as cheap labor in Singapore. And many Malaysians, say for example, young engineers, they move to Singapore not because the Singapore salary is very high. It's just because Malaysians employers are not prepared to pay a half or 2/3 of Singapore pay, but only prepared to pay 1/3 of Singapore pay. So this is really the gap. So for everyone, for employers who are here, I really urge you to think about the future, so that we can actually bring together more Malaysians to stay here to contribute to our economy. So to recognize that workers, employees have a choice and they can go to Singapore very easily, that I think is the starting point. Secondly, we found out that at least 70% of young people after SPM are not prepared to pursue further education. Because many Malaysians found out that you make more money by becoming a Grab driver or food panda delivery boy. But that is not good for the economy. That is not good for the economy because these are not long-term career. But for those who tell them that, oh, you should think about your career, we also have to look back and see how industry pay young people. Otherwise, we will have a whole generation of people working as gig workers and not in formal sector. And that will be a problem, because for most people that I talk to, young people, when they come out, they say, okay, I want a job that pays 3,000 ringgit. Those who have already been in the workforce for 10, 15 years, they expect at least to be paid 4,000 in order to survive, and 4,000 or more in order to survive. But many employers are not prepared to do so. So we are stuck in a vicious cycle, and we have to get out of that. But how do we create jobs that pay better? it is very important for employers to recognize that to play in the low skill and also to depend on unskilled foreign labor shouldn't be the way to go, because we need to be able to recognize that paying people well means that you can have a loyal workforce, and the loyal workforce can work with you for the long haul. And I hope this is something that we can get employers to recognize, so that we can start a new conversation rather than old vicious cycle.
Right. I really love that. Loyal workforce can really bring your company to a next level, right? And you actually mentioned in a radio interview that Malaysia, we don't really have a talent problem. It's more so of a pay problem, right? And as we mentioned just now, Malaysia's median salary is only 2,250 ringgit, 2250. YB, if we really were to look at the broader picture of this, right, do you think Malaysians are in general paid fairly?
I don't think we are paid fairly because we are stuck in a system where we have unlimited influx of unskilled foreign labor. But at the same time, over the last 25 years, to be fair to the employers, over the last 25 years, we have been neither here nor there. Our economy has been neither here nor there. We were not able to produce and to enter into highly productive activities.
Right.
Therefore, our industry are stuck in labor-intensive activities, and they are also not assured of higher-end activities. Because over the last 25 years, what had happened was, number one, in 1997, there was Asian financial crisis. After the crisis, in 1998, Anwar Ibrahim was sacked as Deputy Prime Minister. And from then on, we had difficult political situations for the longest of time. And in 2001, China joined WTO. So when China joined WTO, most of the manufacturing investment around the world went to China. And when they went to China, we are only getting very little manufacturing investment. And therefore, we were not able to compete in the more lucrative sectors. But now things have changed. Now things have changed. I mean, for those who have friends who are engineers who work in one of those factories in Batu Kawan, they will tell you that now Batu Kawan, if you are a young engineer, fresh grad engineers, you may get 3,008 to 4,005, between 3,000 and 4,005. And this only happened very recently, say only for the last year and a half. Why? Because over the last 5 years since Trump came into office in 2017, there has been a major shift where Western and European and American companies decided to diversify from China. When they diversify from China, where can they go? Some of them went back to US to home shore in US. Some of them went to near shore in Mexico, or for European firms, they're near shore in Poland, and French shore in India. But the bulk of the companies or activities that left China came into Southeast Asia. So a lot of low-end activities went to Vietnam, rightly so, because they have a larger population. But there are also some medium range activities that came to Malaysia and a bit of Indonesia, a bit of Thailand. So we are seeing a lot of growth in manufacturing activities over the last few years, and a lot of investment in manufacturing. So I think this is an opportunity where we can have a new conversation with employers, because today when you talk to everyone, the employers are coming to tell you that we do not have enough workers. Unlike a few years ago, people tell you that we have abundance of workers, but after COVID, not only in Malaysia that we have a labor crunch, United States has the longest labor crunch over the last year and a half. Think about this. In the last year and a half, the Federal Reserve has increased interest rate at least 12 times out of the 18 months or something like that. But even after increasing interest rate for 12 times, the economy was still growing, and unemployment rate in the United States is still lowest in 50 years history, in 50 years time. So it means that there is a very tight labor market in the United States. There's a very tight labor market around the world and in Malaysia as well. So this is an opportunity for us to nudge employers to pay better in order to create a situation where we will pay workers better and we will actually go into automation to reduce reliance on labor, and eventually we hire more skilled workers in our economy. You see, the situation now is that we have many activities that they are only dependent on labor. But once you say, instead of hiring 10 labor to do an activity, you put in an automation line and you only hire one skilled worker. And because you put in an automation line, it may cost you 1 million ringgit or $1 million to put in a line. Therefore, you will not hire a 1,005 ringgit guy to take care of the line. You hire someone who is skilled, who is trained, and who may have some engineering understanding to take care of that 1 million ringgit or $1 million line. So it is in such a way that we move to a middle income or even a middle class society rather than stuck at the bottom. Right. So I think this is something that we have to do. But just to share a personal anecdote, when you ask me whether I think Malaysian workers are paid fairly, I was a 14-year-old kid in 1991. In 1991, I worked at Subang Parade at a cafe. And when I first started, it was 2.50 ringgit per hour. But because the early 90s saw labor crunch, people were competing to hire workers. We, as a 15-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, we were hired at the cafe. Mm-hmm. A year after I worked at the cafe, I was paid 4.50 ringgit per hour in 1992, 31 years ago. Okay. The point is, today you're going to check the fast food chain. Mm. I can assure you, apart from one or two, everyone else is paying below 10 ringgit. And most of them are paying 7 ringgit 50 cents, 8 ringgit, maximum 8 ringgit 50 cents. Hey, I was paid as an underage worker, 4 ringgit 50 cents 31 years ago, doing the same thing, working at a cafe. So I think we need a new conversation. We need employers, we need fast food chain, we need big restaurants to recognize that paying 15 ringgit an hour to young people working as fast food chain wouldn't eat into too much of your profit. But you will get university students who say, okay, 15 ringgit an hour, I don't mind working. I mean, I'm a university student, I don't mind working at a cafe a few hours a day. Like what we do when we work overseas, when we study overseas, we work at a cafe 5 hours a day, 20 hours a week. If you're paid well, so once we have a situation where fast food chain, restaurants, cafe are paying much better, we will have university students who will be prepared to work as cafe workers, and then you don't have to hire from other countries. You will have a virtual cycle where you won't have university students going hungry. So we have a situation where university students going hungry because we're not prepared to move to that sort of conversation.
Right, but I think it's very interesting to see, like, most are 70%, right, of our fresh graduates. NACDA actually did this survey. 70% of the fresh graduates, they expect a 3,000 starting salary, right? It's very natural for them because automation, digitalization, young graduates are basically, technically, they're more tech savvy, right? We can't deny that, and they're more digitally literate as well. But in the same survey, only 30% of companies and employers are able to give that 3,000. So if we were to simplify this, if I were a fresh graduate, I were to apply to 10 companies, right? If I was lucky, I could get 3 companies or maybe 2, right, to give me that 3,000. Other than that, they would give me less. And I guess this is understandable because Malaysia is made out of 90% of SMEs, right? And they have financial constraints as well when it comes to automation, digitalization, and pay as well. So what can they do, right? What can employers do to still pay well and still take care of their bottom line?
I think employers will have to accept that in this year and next year and the coming year, most likely we'll have a labor crunch. Instead of complaining that they are complaining that they're losing workers, it's might as well they actually start paying higher, but at the same time expecting the workers to deliver more. I think that should be a sort of like a trade-off where you pay a lot more, but at the same time you expect your workers to deliver more, and you expect workers to stay for a longer period of time. At the moment, any survey will tell you at least more than half of the workers wants to move to the next job because they're not happy with the current job. So later I'll send you a book title which is called, let me read the title to you. The Case for Good Jobs: How Great Companies Bring Dignity, Pay, and Meaning to Everyone's Work. I'll send it to you later.
Yep.
I think we need a new conversation, and I hope your effort will actually help reshape jobs. At the moment, I think the government, with Prime Minister's speech last week, recognized that this is something that we have to deal with. There are multiple ways to deal with it. One is that the government eventually will have to introduce multi-tier levy for foreign workers, so that companies that hire hire many foreign workers, they will have to pay a higher levy for each of the person they hire. And that will help force or nudge big corporations that hire many foreign workers to go into automation. So that is one thing that I am quite sure this government will do within the next few months or maybe next year. Secondly, in my own ministry, we are working with SIRIM, and we are now engaging other agencies to discuss how to refashion some jobs. For instance, now, say chargemen and wiremen. Chargemen and wiremen, some of them are paid not very well. Some of them, actually, if you're a chargeman, you're qualified and you have experience, you're reasonably well paid. They used to deal with mostly AC, but now because of EV, we're talking about DC charger, installing DC charger. So we are trying to, give us some time, and we'll try to work out new certifications for DC charging and DC installation. And if we can do that, there's a new certification, new job, which is a bit of a new green job. And hopefully that will pay a lot more for wiremen and chargemen.
Right.
Now, this is not restricting to what I've just described, but I think there'll be a lot of jobs where we will have to refashion jobs and recreate better jobs from what we have. The other example that I am pushing other people to do, not with a lot of good result yet, but I hope eventually we can do it. For instance, security guards. We are so used to hire Nepalese, hire Bangladeshi to be security guard. But actually, they don't converse the language. And if there's a crime scene, they cannot make police report. They have no idea how to make a police report. So having the security guard is basically just having body count. You think that you have security guard, but actually they won't actually fulfill what you expect them to do. Right? You're just having body count. This is where the nation needs a new conversation. We need to go beyond having body count. For instance, let's say if we can work out a way where big corporations can start reducing the number of security guards. Let's say a big mall. I'm told that some malls hire 1,000 security guards, some malls hire 500 security guards, all of them foreign workers. But for instance, let's say they put in a lot more investment into wiring up their place with better CCTV. And at the same time, security guard is given a body camera. You use a lot more technology. You have a better command center. There may be a situation where you don't need to hire 1,000 people. You may need 300 people. But once you need 300 people and you want better quality of people, then you have a new requirement. You may want to hire Malaysians. You may want to pay them 3,000, 3,500 as a security guard. Right? So these are work that we have to do together. So we will have to do this together so that we create new jobs that pay a bit higher. So imagine that if the security guard is paid 3,500, you wouldn't be paying your fresh grad engineer 3,500.
Okay.
You would say that a fresh grad engineer will have to be paid more. So that will become a virtuous cycle that we have to work on. But for young graduates, I want to say this. Not all office job is good job. Right? Some high-end agriculture jobs can be very high paying. And you want to explore it. Some very high-end skill jobs, some new areas like green technology, they may offer new opportunities that some of you may want to get into. And those areas, because it's new, it is easier for the employer and employee to negotiate a new deal compared to old jobs. And this is where those who are a bit brave should really think about exploring new jobs in new sectors. I will look at it, I will say that green is a very important area. Agriculture and food security is an important area where it may offer a new set of jobs and with different set of pay. So we together we can work out and look at all sorts of possibilities, but it is important that employers need to know that the old way will not sustain, because young people will just say, okay, I might as well be a Grab driver, I might as well be a food panda delivery boy, rather to get low pay, even if I'm a graduate, which is why 35% of gig workers are actually graduates. Right. This is the sad story about Malaysia. Of the 100% of a gig workers, actually 35% are graduates, and they are in gig jobs because other jobs do not pay well. So one final point that I want to share is this whole idea of productivity. When we talk about productivity in this country, most of the time the employers will tell the employees, you need to work harder so that you have higher productivity. Everyone say, oh, productivity means the workers have to work higher. I have a different view. Productivity means we have to invest in technology. Right? Productivity means we have to invest in skill and technology. And if we have skill and technology, particularly, let's say, instead of using a human being to sweep the floor, you use a robot to sweep the floor, or you use a machine to sweep the floor, your productivity shoot up. So we need to have a different conversation about productivity. I mean, I'm trying to convince my government colleagues. I'm also trying to convince the community, I'm trying to convince the employers that we need a different definition of productivity, because productivity is about investment. Productivity is about investing into technology. And of course, productivity is also about investing in skills. So workers need to have skill, workers need to have better skill. But if they have very good high skill, but you are still sweeping the floor with hand, then there is a huge mismatch. So that mismatch is where we are now.
Right. The issue of underemployment, I guess, is still very prevalent. But as you said, right, fresh grads should look at the trends, right? Sustainability is something that all companies are looking at now, regardless of their size, and that is the way moving forward, right? That is actually very good advice. And since we're talking about youths, and that is one of the advice that you have given them, besides looking at pay, what are other things that fresh graduates?
Sorry, I lost you for half a minute.
Oh, no, I was just concluding your statement just now. But the question is, right, besides looking at pay for fresh grads, what are some other things that they should look at and consider when it comes to choosing a job, right? What advice do you have for them?
My advice for those who just graduated, you don't have to stick to what you learn. I mean, if you are an engineer, if you are a political scientist, if you are a geographer, whatever you learn in university, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you do in your work. Be prepared to explore. Be prepared to explore. Be prepared to try out anything that is available, because you don't know which sector will thrive. We really don't know what will happen in 10 years' time. What we can see now is that I think green jobs are growing. We look at it, automotive, EV, solar. We can see some trends. We can see that in the years to come, food security will be very important. In the years to come, there will be water scarcity, and therefore water-related engineering will be very important. I mean, we can see some trends, but we actually don't know which way things will go. So it's important for a young person who are in their 20s who do not have much burden or liability, who have not accumulated too much of liability. Be prepared to explore. Be prepared to explore and be prepared to try out things. The sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. Do not restrict yourself. Do not restrict yourself. Do not say that this is not possible, that is not possible. You're too young to say that the world is limited. Because the world is actually comes with a lot of possibilities. Although noting that we are in a difficult era. 20 years ago, things may be better for many people if they are a graduate. But if they were a graduate 25 years ago, maybe it would be much better. But the point is that even though we are in a rather difficult environment, as World Economic Forum call this, or Adam Tools call this, a poly crisis that we are facing. We're facing climate crisis, we're facing war and geopolitical crisis, we're still dealing with a pandemic and potential future pandemic and other health crises that includes also aging, an aging society that we have to deal with. And also we are dealing with a potential financial crisis, systemic financial crisis, both in the United States and also now potentially China. But the point is that every crisis comes with an opportunity. And for example, for a young person, the other sector is actually health sector. You can see that there are so many potential health crises, but that also comes with a lot of business opportunity and also job opportunity in the health sector. So for a young person, you can explore opportunity in crisis and find new path forward. Be prepared to solve societal's problem, right? Let's say if you are interested in healthcare, you're interested in aged care, come with a mission. I want to solve some problem that I see in the society. It's not just about making money. It's also to see that I can contribute to society. And if I can contribute to society, eventually my ideas bring some profit or brings a good job. That is the whatever compensation or whatever we receive in return. But the point is that if we are very young, let's not be too bothered about money, and let's be prepared to explore the world and to prepare to try to solve societal's problem, and to value the satisfaction that comes with solving problem. I think after a while, I mean, maybe you may agree with me that after a while, working life can be boring, right? But if you feel that in your working life you solve problem, you change the world bit by bit, or you change your society bit by bit, you change your company bit by bit, that satisfaction will keep you going in your working life. And remember that satisfaction, that feeling that I can do something better for other people is important in your working life.
Finding meaning and purpose in your job, right?
Yeah.
I guess that is beyond pay, I feel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but today we are gathered with so many different stakeholders here, right? We have our young graduates, our dear bosses and educators here. I guess this is a very small but a very significant step forward when it comes to improving our labor force here in Malaysia. So as this initiative kicks off, right, what hopes do you have for this initiative, and what kind of encouragement would you have for these stakeholders to encourage them to be more active and participate in initiatives like this?
Yeah, I really appreciate this effort. I think this is a great effort, and this comes at an opportune time, because the world is moving from old thinking to a new set of trying to solve a new set of problems. For employers, let me share with you this. Milton Friedman wrote about or talked about the purpose of corporation 50 years ago. So 50 years ago, Milton Friedman said that the corporations have only one purpose. That is to make money and to be responsible to their shareholder. So this is the theory of shareholder values or shareholder economy. But 50 years later, we found out that if corporations is only interested in making money, we will have a terrible society. We'll have a terrible society because other stakeholders are not treated as stakeholders, and therefore other stakeholders suffer, and we will have a world that is a race to the bottom world. So World Economic Forum, as well as Business Roundtable and other organizations, started to talk about or revive this talk about stakeholder economy. So if you Google stakeholder economy, there's been a lot of discussion since around 2020, in the last few years, about stakeholder economy. The idea is that a corporation is not just responsible to their stakeholders, to their shareholders, but they're also responsible to the climate, to the environment. They are responsible to their workers, their employees, and they're also responsible to their customer as well as the community where they're situated. So the idea is that a corporation cannot just think about profit bottom line, but it also has to think about how they treat their workers, how they treat their environment. I mean, they cannot be polluting and make money out of polluting the environment, because after a while you will get caught. And it's not just that you cause problem, but you cause externality that everyone else suffer. So in this whole context of stakeholder economy, this is where we are talking about fairer pay, better pay, right? We want corporations to recognize that corporations have more than one stakeholder. Corporations, workers, your workers is a very important stakeholder. And at the same time, we also hope that the younger workers are prepared to think out of the box, are prepared to explore, and prepared to disrupt. So you mentioned that mismatch. Every mismatch in every society is an opportunity for disruption, right? So you mentioned that about 70% of those surveyed, 68% of those surveyed wants to or expect a 3,000 ringgit pay.
Right.
Whereas only 30% of employers are prepared to pay that sort of rate. I think that is exactly an opportunity for disruption, right? Employers who are prepared to pay above will get very good quality people.
Right.
And of course, some young people who are prepared to say, okay, let us group together and start a new business in a new sector, and just ask the older employers to fight time. That can also be an opportunity. And of course, this is also an opportunity for the government to come in with a new vision. So I hope this will be a new conversation where the government sees itself differently. For the longest of time, the Malaysian government, which most part I wasn't part of it, the Malaysian government sees itself as the provider of foreign workers to corporation, right? So we have a ministry called Human Resources Ministry. And the mindset that is told to government employees, told to civil servants, told to ministers, and these business people are telling ministers, you must find foreign workers for me, right? My response is, I'm a deputy minister in the government of Malaysia or the Malaysian government. I don't see that I have to find foreign workers for corporations. That shouldn't be my primary role. My primary role as the government of Malaysia, or our primary role as the government of Malaysia, is to ensure that Malaysians get better job, better pay, and the Malaysian businesses get better businesses. It is not about providing foreign workers for cheaper production. Right. Malaysia shouldn't see itself as a cheap location. We should see ourselves as at least a medium or an indispensable indispensable middle space in the global supply chain, in the global production chain. We shouldn't be competing with Vietnam, competing with Indonesia, or competing with Thailand for being cheap. So it is difficult because to see ourselves not as a cheap production site is always very difficult.
Right.
Because factories will come to say, hey, you must provide us with cheap foreign labor. But that shouldn't be the primary role of the government. The primary role of the government is to ensure that young people get decent pay, decent job. And we are in a virtuous cycle so that companies also get better quality workforce and better quality outcome.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, this reminds me of one interview that I did with a logistics company. It's a listed Malaysian company. The reason why they only employ Malaysian locals, they don't employ foreign workers. It's something very remarkable that he said that if a foreign country is looking to invest in two company A and company B. Company A is all foreign workers, right? Because they're cheaper. The cost is, the margin is a bit, is a bit bigger. But company B is fully local, right? Which one would that foreign investor invest in, right? That is the question that I guess everyone has an answer to, right? And thank you so much, YB. I think that's opened the floor to some questions, right? Okay, I have this question. I guess it's from an employer. I'm all for paying higher salaries, but how do we ensure that these higher salaries across all spectrums are not passed down to the consumers in the end and doesn't lead to more inflationary pressures?
As I pointed out earlier, I was a cafe worker in 1992 at the age of 15 years old at Subang Parade. I was paid 450 ringgit per hour, and 30 years later, we all know what sort of inflation rate that we have experienced in the last 30 years. And yet wages is low. So the question is if you take a 30-year period, instead of taking 1 or 2 years, you take a 30-year period, I think most of you will agree with me that over the last 30 years, wages have fallen far behind inflation. Okay, so to answer this question, I would say that if you take a longer period of time, the answer is very clear. And the challenge today is that if we are not prepared to pay a bit higher, we won't get workers, because the workers will either become food panda delivery person or Grab driver, or the person will just work in Singapore. My constituencies, my parliamentary constituency is next to the second link, and my state constituency is next to Causeway. Every morning in my constituency, 50,000 Malaysian go on a motorbike, go into Singapore and work at jobs that pay 2,000 Sing dollar and less. These are usually 3D jobs. So whoever tells you that Malaysians are not prepared to work in 3D jobs, I say no. They are prepared to work in 3D jobs, just that they are not prepared to be paid at the Malaysian rate. So they went across to Singapore to work as cheap labor and 3D labor in Singapore. And I asked all of them, how much are you prepared to come back? They say, 2/3 of Singapore pay. And now because rental is so high in Singapore, sometimes even half of Singapore pay they are prepared to take. But unfortunately, most of the jobs are only paying 1/3 of Singapore pay.
Right. Okay, there is another question about university diploma, right? So workers who graduated from universities, they spend more money on education to get a diploma or a degree certificate, and compared to the salary that they earn from a position they got using that certificate. I think the question is wait, hold on a second. Right. They spend more money on education and then at the end of the day, their salary doesn't match whatever they pay for. So what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, it's a sad case because our nation's economy has been stuck over the last 20 over years. We are now having a situation that graduate pay are just too low. And it's already a cross-generation or multi-generational problem. I cited in some of my articles that I'm privy to read a 500-page PTPTN report, which was done in 2019.
Right.
And in that report, it shows that 68% of PTPTN borrowers, which means they are graduates, earn less than 4,000 ringgit after 10 years of working. That means a graduate, after 10 years of working, they are paid, 68% of them pay less than 4,000 ringgit. I think this is getting very serious, and we need to change that. We need to change that, and perhaps this is an opportune time because there are a lot more investment coming into Malaysia due to diversification from China. And we should take this opportunity to work together so that we can help companies to move up the ladder, to help companies to produce better, produce more sophisticated products, linked to the global supply chain, linked to MNCs in Malaysia, but at the same time also get them to pay workers better. So to change this whole vicious cycle. You see, this vicious cycle, once it's become multi-generational, it's very problematic. If you read some of the discussions about EPF, they will tell you that, Malaysians are not saving enough. Malaysians are not saving enough for retirement. They're not saving enough for retirement because the pay is just too low. And sometimes I have problems trying to convince people. Every now and then there'll be people say, oh, we should revive the GST. I say, why do you want to revive the GST? They say, oh, because it will widen the tax base of the government. And the evidence they cite is that only 15% Malaysians pay income tax.
Right.
Okay. So I asked them, do you know why only 15% Malaysians pay income tax? They say they all don't pay income tax. The actual answer is, much as there might be some people who evade tax, and we have enough laws to deal with tax evader, the bulk of Malaysians do not earn enough to qualify themselves to pay tax. Right? You need about 3,600 to 4,000 ringgit to qualify yourself to pay tax, to pay income tax, right? Assuming that it's 4,000 ringgit. It just means that 85% of the population do not earn more than 4,000 ringgit to qualify themselves to pay tax. That is scary. Because once it becomes multi-generational, it will cause a societal problem. It will cause a societal challenge when these generations grow into their 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old. So I hope, together with all of you, I am an advocate for better pay, better jobs, and better business opportunity. I hope we can work together, and I hope we can create a second economic takeoff for Malaysia, together with better pay, better jobs, and better business opportunity for everyone.
Right. YB, you talked about automation and then digitalization, right? One of our audience, he or she, they have a very good question. So they're asking you, do you think that technological advancements, right, especially AI technologies nowadays, does it affect the employability and the fair pay? And if it does, what's your advice to overcome that?
Yeah, in more advanced country, it is a serious challenge to human being, because with technological advancement, so many jobs could be replaced by AI, could be replaced by machine and automation, and therefore causing loss of jobs to many people. I have two parts to answer to that question. The first part is Malaysia has not reached that level yet. Malaysia, if we can automate and we can also reduce unskilled foreign labor at the same time, we will have an opportunity to create a lot of skilled jobs. We'll have an opportunity to create many skilled jobs through automation, through skill upgrades, and also through technological adoption, so that we remove the unskilled labor, and most of the unskilled labor are foreign workers. So if we can sort of like automate, tech up, adopt technology, digitalize, we remove the unskilled foreign labor and we hire skilled workers in our Malaysian economy. And at least we will have a window of 10, 15 years in that zone, where this will help create employment for and better skill employment. And it is also about appreciation of skill. You see, when I was studying in Australia, I came to know that a plumber in Australia makes a lot of money. Sometimes a plumber makes a much better pay than an accountant, because skill qualification is recognized and is regulated and is appreciated. So construction workers in Australia, there are many Malaysians who actually work illegally in Australia as construction workers. Construction workers are very well paid in Australia, because it's regulated, and it's also their skill as well as their credential. They will have to take courses, they will have to qualify, and they will have to get a certain credential. Those credentials are well monitored, well regulated, and it brings well paid, good pay. So I think that part is important. But for more advanced economy, over the last 40 years, advanced economy and also around the world, everyone's talking about tax cut. So for the longest of time, because of this neoliberal ideology, there has been tax cut everywhere, and there has been shortages of investment into care economy, shortages of investment into aged care, into child care, into hospital care, even in advanced economy. So US has a health crisis, the rich can get health, access to health, the poor couldn't. And also even in UK, which has supposedly the best health system in the world, is now suffering of a shortage of investment. Moving forward, you will see that a lot of, many Asian societies, which are now facing aging situation, I think at some point they will have to raise their taxes. Over the last 40 years, Hong Kong and Singapore compete to lower their taxes. Even Korea, Taiwan, China, taxes are not very high. But increasingly, I think they will find it impossible to sustain a healthcare system and a comprehensive care economy without raising taxes. So I look at the situation, I think in the years to come, advanced economy will have to raise taxes and pay hospital workers, pay childcare workers, pay aged care workers, pay the people who are in the care economy better.
Great.
And it is difficult to replace human being in the care economy.
Right.
Right. It's very difficult to, you can replace human being in many other sectors with AI, but in the care economy, you will take maybe 50, 100 years to really replace human being in a surgery.
Right.
So I think, or in care work, and as society age, we should really see how we can invest a lot more in care economy, and that is the longer questions that it's not so much relevant to Malaysia immediately, but at some point we will face the same questions as well.
Okay. YB, one last question. I think this is from a graduate, right? So a fresh graduate who is really willing to relocate and learn and is asking to be paid 3,000 ringgit as a starting salary. Will that be seen as too demanding or unreasonable?
I think the person will have to say, okay, I belong to the top 30% that the top 30% employers are prepared to hire now. I come out and say that this is what I can offer. I think, I mean, as you point out in your survey, at least there are 30% of employers are prepared to pay that sort of range.
Right.
I mean, then you offer yourself as that, for at least to cater for that 30% of employers, and to offer what you think you can offer. It's very often, I think, in the employment of workers, usually the first job is difficult to get, and usually the first job required a lot of suffering. But once you can show that in your first job you do well, in your first job you show that you are one of the best, you're one of the best, you're the top 30%. I think for anyone who are in that age group, your second job will become a lot more easier. And with a tighter labor market now, I mean, the labor market now is relatively tight. There is a labor crunch. I think those who are prepared to strive to be the top 10%, top 30%, it shouldn't be too difficult for them to find a good second job. I mean, good second time when they start looking for a job with some experience. I think if you are the top 30%, it shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah. Put in the effort. Don't just ask for the salary, but see what you can offer to the company as well, right? All right. Thank you so much, YB. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for today's
Thank you so much,
conversation.
Libby.